On the dawn of all the relaunches that will be happening, there is a singular comic that beat out all the rest, that in a lot of ways is more important than the rest, and definitively cooler than the rest. This Wednesday's serial, we salute Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah! Alright, so I'm biased, I don't care. I love Ninja Turtles. It's always been great. And for a little retrospective, if you haven't checked out the original issues, they used to be online, but that site's down. I'd recommend finding a way to get them. If you can, First Publishing, don't know them from anything else, did larger oversized prints with color of the original issues, which was interesting because Ninja Turtles was most notably a black and white comic. And it was some of the great stuff. There's a reason that they were a phenomenon for a while and that they're still around. The Source stuff was top-notch, excellent, fun, and in a lot of ways had some social commentary that was pretty indicative of comic in the 80s, but something that we don't see as much of now. And with the return of Ninja Turtles back to the old logo, back to Eastman being one of the creators after a long branch off, and the comic properties not being so in tune with what the comics once were, it's nice to see a return, and there's a little bit in here. There's a front action scene that's amazing. That's a good chunk of the book. Character revelation and fighting and all that just rolled in. And then you see a bit of the plot, and you're starting to see where the Turtles come from. They're kind of interweaving and kind of doing a different take with some of the characters. I found Casey Jones' character most interesting because they're making him young, and so far as I know, they haven't really ever done a truly young portrayal of Casey Jones. In this case, his father was beating him, and Raphael busts in the door, which was also doubly interesting because Raphael was absent from the first chunk of the book, and you're like, what's going on with Raphael? There's something there, and it's not that uncalled for. If you've ever seen the movies or read the comics, you know Raphael has a tendency to kind of go do his own thing. He's the rebel tool. I was excited. The cover, Donatello. Yes, I would have picked this one out even if it wasn't the standard. Who cares? Donatello's the best. I don't know. If you have a favorite turtle, no. Question of the day down below. But, super excited. And also, you may not know, but color starting off in a Ninja Turtles book. That is technically a second time, but I'd argue a first for launching off a Ninja Turtles comic if you don't remember Archie, which I choose not to now, even though I grew up on those. This comic, though, proves that this series is going to be awesome. If you didn't pick up this comic, I'm sure it's easy enough to find. I think they're front-loading and giving retailers maybe small incentives. I don't know, they kind of push this book a bit because it's... right now it's unlike anything on the market, which is kind of weird, but it's all there. I mean, the characters are there, they're defining it, they're taking their time, but it's moving fast at the same time. It seems perfectly paced so far, and the art on it is there. It has the old Turtles feel, but it's also taking advantage of some stuff, and also has that kind of IDW grit feel that all their books have, so it actually makes for a really nice blend artistically. And of course, the Turtles are all red headband. If you're anti that, I don't know what to tell you, but it works. And you can tell the characters from who they are by how they act. So that's a big step up. And I will say, I found it very interesting. They are very much promoting and re-releasing the old Ninja Turtles comics, and I'll see how interested I am in that because I'm missing some early issues. But they're focusing on that as a selling point, but I'm not sure if they're re-releasing it with the color, which has been done, as I mentioned earlier, or if they're keeping those original issues to the original black and white, which normally, if that's the way the comic was intended, I would be a proponent for, but the colorist on those books was someone who came in and actually colored the Turtles books later, or maybe he went back and did these the way he did do the Turtles books, and the colors on it are there. And they do add a feeling to it because he went over inks with colors and did it right and added in a bit more. It wasn't just a palette color job. And for that, it adds something to the book. It gives it a bit more feel, especially in something like Ninja Turtles. And if you've ever seen a background that's indicative of a Ninja Turtles comic, I would highly recommend going and checking it out, because these were artists that were inspired by like Frank Miller, but at the same time by Kirby, and they had a great way of adding in a lot of detail and feeling without actually putting in too many lines. There was a nice, great feel that didn't feel like, oh, every page has to be immaculate and detailed, but felt like, reading a comics, you don't have to like pour over every line, which in a lot of ways I feel is stronger. Argue with me on that if you will. And yes, detail on like a spread page or something, but every frame being particularly detailed, you actually lose some of the ability to use comics as a storytelling medium, as per focusing on different details in different frames. And they were able to pull all of that off and give you a feeling with every background, which is really actually pretty impressive, and probably not something that was too cognizant of them, but something just in the way that their style blended that worked. And that is all held up within this book, and something I'm glad to see back, because my favorite non-Mirage and now non-IDW comic run with the Ninja Turtles was the Image one, which was crazy. If you didn't read that, it's a good chunk of issues, around 32 if memory serves. I'd have to look it up, it's been years, but it's crazy. By the end of it, well, by the start of it, Donatello's a cyborg, but then by the end of it, Leonardo has his arm chopped off and has a fake hand and is crazy and a bit more militant than usual. Raphael has his eye poked out and becomes the Shredder and leads the Foot Clan. And the craziest one, Michelangelo, becomes a romance novelist. And it's crazy. And if you're a fan of the Savage Dragon or any of that at all, it actually ties in very much with that universe. So I'd recommend those comics if you can go pick them up. They weren't ever collected. They're just kind of sitting in stores here and there, and I doubt that they'd go for much because it's pretty much a forgotten run, so there's no highfalutincy around that, but damn, it was a fun ride. I would also point out, if you were reading the last run of the Ninja Turtles, which they did eventually bring the Tales of the Turtles, which felt more like a Turtles book, but if you're reading the Ninja Turtles proper, the last time it was done right up until Mirage Publishing died, or sold themselves out, however you want to look at that. This comic is more in line with the way you'd probably remember the Turtles and is more action-oriented. If you read that old Mirage book, it was very much a drama fest. They were trying to be more adult, but they brought in this idea of alien culture and cultures blending, and kind of like an X-Men deal of accepting difference, but accepting people for who they are, and that being challenged. But it didn't, even reading it and liking parts of it, it didn't quite pan out right, and they were focusing on a few different human characters that I could never get invested in because I just didn't care. I didn't care if they were somewhat related to April or Casey. That wasn't enough. I needed a reason to like this character, and they were just kind of D-bags slowly growing, and it was kind of a mess. And there were some Tales of Ninja Turtles that were good, but there was a lot of one-shots, and it didn't feel like any investment in the story, and plopping down, four books the comic. Sorry, I've been drinking a little bit of, the Irish mist, so the slurs begin. But it's nice to see a book that's going to have the action, keep each comic a bit more to itself, but have an ongoing story, and that's what this is. And it's nice to just, amidst all this crazy shit with DC and all the crap that's going on with Marvel, oh my god, a book monthly that you can just pick up and it's going to be good. Oh my god, there's going to be like this and Buffy for continued properties for a while in that vein, and there's tons of stuff at Image and all that. And if you have to choose between one of those books and some ongoing superhero book that, if you're on the fence, I'd encourage you to lean more toward like the Turtles or that, because it's one monthly book. You're getting the whole universe, you're getting the whole thing, and you're supporting people who are putting their heart and soul into it. and not part of just some corporation keeping something going to keep the license up. It's always more rewarding in the end. When you go reread it, sometimes I think you get to see that little bit of love and it just comes out to you a bit more. So, totally a ramble, but that's because it's all from the heart, because Ninja Turtles is definitively what got me into comics, truly, and kept me in comics for a while, and is something I'll always return to, not because I'm a complete and total fanboy. My complete and total fanboyism will always have me try their new stuff, but like the old Tails and the old Turtles from the last run Mirage, it wasn't what I was looking for, so I dropped it. And this book is great, and it's the fact that there is that quality and that care to this sort of title that keeps me coming back. And so I thank everyone at IDW and everyone working on this book for putting out something that's just great. So yes, best relaunch of the month. Turtles. Even better than JLA. I'm calling it now. So, peace, love, and a pint, and I will catch you later. Please, like, comment, answer that question. What Turtles do you like, or what do you like about the Turtles? I'm sure you've all read it, of course, right? And yeah, I'll catch you soon with another comic review.